could see the place from a distance. In other words, the place which later becomes Harabayit was so outstanding, was so special, that when Avram Avinu got to Talpiot, got to the Tayelet, the Has Promenade in which probably that's where he came to in Talpiot, he looked and said, "That's the place. It's so beautiful." Now the Midrash said there was a cloud standing up on it, but Pshat is he looked at the place and says, "That's got to be the place. That's beautiful. That's it. That's Mitsuyan." So that's what some people say the word Tzion comes. Other people say the word comes from a totally different root, Tziyat, Tzadi Yud He, which means dry. So you can see translations of this pasuk like the precipitation of the Hermon that descends over all of the parched hillsides. Because Tzion may mean parched. I personally am not enamored of that approach to the term Tzion. I like that it's the outstanding place, the special. And you can just look at it and feel that something beautiful is going on there. But it can be this verse can be translated either way. I noticed that one of the best English translations today is Robert Alter he's a professor of biblical literature in Berkeley, and his translation is parched. He uses that. He says that Zion here means that meaning of a parched. Most of the others say that it's Zion, that Eretz Yisrael to survive depends upon the precipitation that falls in the Galil, Golan, Hermon range. That's what it's talking about. So it's got in the idea about water, and we're going to talk about water symbolically in just a minute. But in the idea about water, it starts with that water up there. That the water that becomes the water that comes out of the Banyas and Teldan, which feeds the Jordan River, which feeds the Kinneret, that water starts on the Hermon. I mean, the pasuk is correct. The pasuk is correct in describing the reality of water resources here in Eretz Yisrael until now, when we're now producing water, desalinating water. But that's a great other discussion. Kisham tziva Hashem et habracha. Now remember, Pshat in the poem is that this is the people who were in Yerushalayim for Simchat Beit HaShoeva, for the water drawing ceremony, which was all about the blessings of water on the nation. Remember, we say historically and midrashically that the Jewish nation is judged on every Yontiv, and on Sukkot we're judged for water. That's what the Simchat Beit HaShoeva and Hoshanot services were about. By the way, when you look at the Hoshanas from Hoshana Rabbah, they don't talk about sin so much. That concept that Hoshana Rabbah ends the season of Tshuva, that was a much later mystical idea. If you read the Hoshanot for Hoshana Rabbah, almost all of them talk about water, that there should be sufficient water in the winter for the country. So that's what it's talking about here. Kisham tziva Hashem et habracha. Now, Pshat in this pasuk, according to many people, is that the bracha was on Har Hermon, especially if you say the word Tzion doesn't mean Zion, but means the parched hillsides. But I'm a rabbi. What can I tell you? To me, the bracha comes from Tzion. So even though Pshat on the pasuk may be as the precipitation on the Hermon, which descends upon the parched hillsides, because there God commanded the blessing of water, that the there in the Pshat probably is the Hermon. But we don't like that Pshat. we like that the bracha comes from Tzion, capital Z, I guess. Capital Tzadi means Yerushalayim, Harabayit, Beit HaMikdash. That's where the bracha comes. And the bracha comes from Zion. Zion is another name for Ir David. So Pasuk Bet is talking about the Kohanim Gedolim. Pasuk Gimel in the Pshat is talking about the Melech. Because remember, who were the Achim back in the first Pasuk? And the probably, the biggest Pshat according to the Radak on the page here, that I have here, is that it means the Kohen Gadol, Pasuk Bet, and the Melech, Pasuk Gimel. Because the bracha for the nation comes from the behavior of the king. Kisham tziva Hashem et bracha. Because there God commands the blessing. And that blessing is Chaim ad ha'olam. And that blessing is life. Water is life. So the amount of rainfall on the Pshat level, the amount of rainfall on the Hermon is the blessing of life ad ha'olam, eternally. Eternally. And this idea is very potent and very important, and we can't deny it for a second. However, that doesn't, of course, stop the rabbis from giving their own interpretation, which is that Ein Mayim Ella Torah, and that this pasuk is talking about the descent of Torah upon Eretz Yisrael, and that the Torah of Eretz Yisrael, which is compared to water, that's what provides life ad ha'olam, eternally. And when you especially when you say it's the Torah analogy, that ad ha'olam doesn't only mean eternally, temporally, also means spatially, everywhere. That the Torah of Zion goes forth, Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, Devar Hashem Yerushalayim, that the words of Torah go out from Zion to the entire world, and that Chaim for the entire world begins in Eretz Yisrael. Now let's go back and look at the poem. Look at the poem for a second in what, according to the Malbim, is the Pshat. Because I think something beautiful develops. According to the Malbim, the Pshat in the poem is, it's Zvulun and Yisachar, right? So what you have here is, Zvulun and Yisachar are like a Kohen Gadol, okay? And like a master of industry, like a spiritual leader and like an industrial leader. And it's this cooperation between the Shemen, representing spirituality, and the water, representing physical existence. This is very bad. Okay. Hi, Yehuda? Yeah, I'm giving a share. Okay, I'll talk to you later. I'm sorry. Bye-bye. Oh, I should have turned my phone off. I apologize. Okay, I'll do it now. I'm very sorry. Yehuda, right. Okay. So back to, the poem, everything fits in. The poem, in other words, the poem is about Achim being together and providing both physical and spiritual goodness to the world. And then the other two verses of the poem, you just have to fit in for who they are. But when you do the Zvulun Yisachar one, it just works so beautifully that one is providing the spiritual and one is providing the physical, and that's what gives life eternally to the world, when you can have the different segments of society providing for the needs of society, and the needs of society are both. The needs of society are both, and you never can ignore that fact. Now, maybe I should turn off the tape for this. But it's a reality that we have to become aware of. Society can't support 10% of the population sitting and learning all the time. We just can't do it. Historically, it was always less than 1% of the population that was sitting and learning Torah full time. The historical yeshivas had